Welcome to Miss D6 Women's Sports.
Hey, welcome to Miss D61 Sports. Please like, share, subscribe on my way to 300. So, let's get into it. We had some trades going on, teams swapping, teams getting picks, veterans moving around. I kind of figured that these two players would be moved around. We're going to talk about Jaden Ivey, formerly of the Detroit Pistons. We're going to talk about Jaren Jackson Jr., formerly of the Memphis Grizzlies. It was rumored even before the trade deadline that they was going to be traded. So let me share my screen here. This is from the NBA site. So let's start with the Bulls. The Bulls moved around a few players. The Bulls deal Nikola Vucevic for a future second round pick. Chicago received Anthony Simmons, a shooting guard, and a future second round pick. And then this is KC Johnson for KCJ Hoop. I was told this deal was discussed earlier in the season, but it didn't gain much traction. Deadlines have a way of creating action. Bulls are busy. Yeah. That's one of the first pick they had. Yeah, Sharania talked about this trade. So this trade was already in the works. The Celtics needed a big, and the Bulls trying to, I guess the Bulls are trying to kind of move some players. I think they probably on a major rebuild. So I think this is not the only moves that they're going to do, which they haven't. So Pistons added Porter Saric in a 3-team deal. Detroit has reportedly made a move for the stretch run of the 25-26 season. Shams reports the Pistons are acquiring Kevin Huerter and Dario Saric from the Chicago Bulls in a multi-team trade that sends Timberwolves Mike Conley and Jaden Ivey to the Bulls. In the trade, the Pistons also get a first-round projected swap with the Wolves. So, I guess it's a win-win. Mike Conley, a veteran, via Minnesota. So they had a 17-team trade. Multiple team trade, and then Jaden Ivey, who I kind of figured they was going to trade. He had the injury last year. He missed a lot of this year, so I kind of figured they was going to trade him. They just getting value. The Pistons, they got a decent player and Kevin, and also they got the first round pick swap, which they wanted. And Minnesota received no players after they basically traded Mike Conley. They also gave away their pick, first round pick. It says Justin Sharania, Chicago, Minnesota, and Detroit have agreed to a multi-team deal that sends Jaden Ivey and Mike Conley to the Bulls, and Kevin Huerter and Dario Saric to the Pistons. So, it's a win-win for both teams. One thing about the Bulls, they kind of guard heavy right now, so I think more players will be moving. The second major trade that happened earlier this afternoon was Jaren Jackson Jr. for the Grizzlies. Now, I didn't expect him to get traded necessarily. I think Ivey was for the Detroit Pistons. It's some more moves for the Grizzlies going to make. So now the Grizzlies are the original team they had with Ja Morant. Ja's by itself. They traded Bane. They traded Jaren Jackson, Dylan Brooks. So he's the last one there. Utah received Jaren Jackson Jr., Jock Landale, John Conchar, and Vince Williams Jr. Memphis received Walter Clayton Jr., Kyle Anderson, Taylor Hendricks, Burgess Dang, and three future first round picks. So they kind of on a rebuilding. They taking the picks. I don't blame them. So Cavs add Schroeder Ellis in a 3-team deal. Cleveland officially added guards Dennis Schroeder and Keon Ellis, plus two-way player Emmanuel Miller on Sunday in a 3-team deal with Sacramento and Chicago. The Kings added forward DeAndre Hunter, who's averaging 14 points and 42 rebounds over 43 games this season, while veteran Dario Saric heads to Chicago, along with future first-round picks. So this is like the multi-team deal. How every team, what players the teams receive, and the draft picks that each team receive from between the Cavs, Pistons, Celtics, and Grizzlies. So Keon Ellis is with the Kings now. That's how it breaks down. Dario Saric. So Chicago is looking to stash some draft picks. I think they're still going to be moving players. Now, Hawks deal Paricic to the Blazers. Atlanta Hawks agreed to a second trade of the season on Sunday, sending Beat Paricic to the Portland in exchange for Duarte Reith and 2 second-round picks. So these like not big names yet. Celtics get their big man. It's more trades to come. There's more trades to come. Pistons receive a swing man to add depth to a stretch run. He's a sharpshooting swing man, which they needed. So far, I think we're going to get even more trades in the work. It's rumored that James Harden is on the move. He's supposed to went to Cleveland. So we'll see if James Harden is going to be on the move. I don't know if it's Cleveland, any other team. We haven't finished with the moves yet. So let me check out something here. Ooh, these names are hard to pronounce. Okay, this is what we're hearing. Let me share my screen. So, what we're hearing before the trade deadline, the latest intel on Harden and Giannis. Now, Giannis and James are asking for trades. It was rumored that Harden was going to the Cleveland Cavaliers for DeAndre Hunter, but that kind of fell through. Of course, DeAndre Hunter got traded, but not for James Harden. And Giannis been rumored since last year to the Golden State Warriors. So, what's the latest intel? So, the latest intel Well, just over 48 hours until the trade deadline Thursday. So you got into Thursday, a lot of these teams to get the players. Impactful deals have been largely non-existent. Yes, the Atlanta Hawks has moved Trey Young a month ago, but this season only a few other. Well, hold on. But other seasons, other trades have happened over the weekend. When the Sacramento Kings and Cleveland Cavaliers swapped DeAndre Hunter and Keon Ellis, and the Hawks struck again, sending Bit Kurgic to the Portland Trailblazers. So James Harden, now Charnia has reported that Cleveland Cavaliers are the team most interested in Harden deal. For Cleveland to do that, as the team's only over the second apron, the more realistic construction of the deal includes the Cavaliers sending out their own point guard, Darius Garland. I don't know if they want to trade Darius Garland right now. I really don't. And while two all-star point guards potentially being swapped for one another is big news on the face, this deal is another all-star. It's about another all-star, Donovan Mitchell. The Cavaliers are facing a huge decision this summer. 1 year before Mitchell can become a free agent in the 2027 season, if the Cavaliers again exit in the first round or second round, as Mitchell has in each of his 8 seasons, will he be willing to commit to another extension in Cleveland? I don't know if he ever wanted to be in Cleveland. So if they do exit in the first or second round this year, I think he will opt out. I think Cleveland might be willing to move Donovan Mitchell in order to get something for him. No one is more aware of that than the Cavaliers, who have already made one deal and are clearly interested in making more between now and Thursday afternoon. So Brian Windhorst, it says Harden was nowhere to be found at the Intuit Dome on Monday night, missing his second consecutive game for what the team called personal reasons. So Harden is not even with the team. He's not in the building. So for some reason, he's very disgruntled. I don't know what's the reason why he is not happy in Los Angeles. He wanted to go back home. So they don't know. It says personal reasons. Who knows what's going on? Maybe he's disgruntled, maybe not. I don't know. I don't want to say that, but you know. So he had perhaps played his last game for the Clippers, though was not a secret on the floor. Players from both teams, the Clippers and the 76ers, whispered about the situation before the game and even chatted up before a tip-off. And the toss-up of him ended up in Cleveland. With a handful full of Clippers wearing Harden's signature shoes, which is normal, LA fell down 16-2. So they just talking about the game. As for a possible transaction itself, whether Harden goes to Cleveland or elsewhere, he has a unique contract that plays a factor. He has the ability to block any trade, so the Clippers must work with him. So, if the Cavaliers want him, I don't know if they can get him because I don't know if he wants to go to the Cleveland Cavaliers. So he basically can. Cavaliers. I don't know what other team has expressed interest in Harden. It might be a team that come along, express interest, say, you know what, we need him as a piece on a team that has a chance to win a chip. I don't know if he's going east. He probably want to stay west. And so that would make it difficult for a team like the Cleveland Cavaliers to attain him. And he also has a player option of $42 million. But it says it's functioned like a mutual option because only $13 million is guaranteed. So that's not too bad. But he still might block that. It says Harden asked for a trade 3 times previously in his career. All 3 times in Houston, Brooklyn, and in Philadelphia. He has gotten it. He knows how to work the system. and either getting that option fully guaranteed or getting an understanding on a new contract could be well part of the negotiation. So yeah, he knows how to negotiate and demand what he wants. Um, he's not a stranger to say, you know what, I want out of here. Could he go back to Houston? Could he go to Miami? Because even though it's a $42 million contract, you basically only paying $13 million guaranteed off this contract he has now. So it's one potential trade. The Oklahoma City Thunder. The Clippers have one of the most hottest teams over the past few months and are 17-5 in their last 22 games after Monday night loss to the Sixers. It's hard to see LA keeping up that pace by swiping out Harden for Garland, who has missed most of the year with various foot issues. Oklahoma City, of course, has the Clippers a protected first round pick as part of the Paul George trade that keeps on giving. The Clippers really, wow. The history between the Clippers and Oklahoma City is vast because the Clippers gave away Shea Gilgeous Alexander, and they still basically paying for the Paul George trade, even though Paul is not even there. So it said the ideal of this deal struck league executives as a potentially awkward for both teams. While Harden is having a strong season, his timeline do not match the rest of the cast roster. Garland is dealing with issues to both big toes, while sources said he is making progress after missing the past 2 weeks with a right toe strain. So if the Clippers trade for him, they still have to deal with his injuries, and we don't know how. Your feet is kind of tricky, and Harden right now is very healthy. So hey, now let's move on to Giannis. What's the latest on him? Brian Windhorst. Only the Bucks know the exact landscape. It's possible that the general manager John Horst of the Milwaukee front office has the basis of an offer they pursue, and it could get serious. Rival teams, however, believe it makes a lot of sense to wait until summer. Yeah, the possible big offer from Golden State, a deal that could net Milwaukee up to 4 first-round picks, will be likely there in June. Meanwhile, the Bucks can wait until they know exactly where they pick and every first round will land. Plus, numerous possible suitors such as Miami Heat can offer a better package of picks once the league year flips. So, with Giannis, seems like they are waiting to see what's going on with the picks. It might be a summer trade. So Giannis is going to be with the Milwaukee Bucks. Probably it's a good chance, at least 90%. He's going to be on this team until the end of the year. Now, shoot, let's talk about AD. We forgot about him. He got the injury right now. He has a hand injury. And the trade deadline will pass. And Anthony Davis said he wanted to stay in Dallas. But it's still coming out that he might still get traded. And Windhorst said moving Anthony Davis will largely depend on what Dallas is willing to do with the expected return. In initial talks with the teams, the Mavericks were looking for a premium, including multiple first-round picks or a prime player per sources. Textbook stuff while making a star available. There is also a matter of Davis eyeing an extension this summer. There were no takers. Anthony Davis, unless somebody looking for depth in their roster. I don't know what's his trade value because unfortunately, as talented as Anthony Davis is, he's not as old. He's only 32 years old or getting ready to be 32. He can't stay healthy. Can't stay healthy. It says rival teams expect Mavericks pursue other moves to trim their money. Veterans such as Klay Thompson, Daniel Gafford, and D'Angelo Russell all could find new homes this week. And any aspiring money for that comes back will allow the Mavericks to reset their books for next season. So they try to move. Look, Mavericks trying to get off these veterans with these big contracts, and I think that's a good idea. Um, so you could move, you could start rebuilding your team. You still got some young players. You got a potential superstar, Cooper Flag. He's only 19 years old. You trying to build around Cooper Flag. Only one that's seen to be a veteran that might be there for a little bit is Kyrie Irving. So, let's be on the lookout for Klay Thompson, Daniel Gafford, and D'Angelo Russell on the move. So, according to Horse, what else are you expecting? Are you watching this week? And Horse said, based on my conversations around the league, the Timberwolves could be very active, like the Cavaliers. I kind of figured that, and I can see Rudy moving, but we'll see. It said Minnesota has limited draft assets, which means trade discussions have been player driven. The Warriors have been investigating backcourt options in addition to try to pry themselves into the Giannis talks. It says, in addition, both temps. They said they're watching Memphis, Boston, Toronto, and Indiana. Now, Memphis already made a trade. They traded Jaren Jackson, who I thought they might be building around because I thought that Ja Morant would be the first to go if they did make a trade. So in a way, it's kind of shocking. In a way, it's not. I know somebody was going to be gone. So yeah. So these are some of the grades so far. We haven't finished with the trades, of course. There's gonna be more movement throughout the night. Hopefully, I can bring some updates to you. So Jazz, of course, get Jaren Jackson, an 8-player trade, and they said Memphis get an A- because they get to come off that contract and they get some future first round picks. I don't think they're really concerned about the players they got. So they got the future first round picks and they got off of the Jaren Jackson contract, the extension he had. Utah got a B-. So what does this mean for the Grizzlies? This part of the part two of the Memphis Grizzlies teardown that began last summer. Like I was speaking of, they lost Desmond Bain. They traded Jaren Jackson. Now, they got rid of Dylan Brooks, who was a part of the when it was part of the heading toward the Western Conference Final. So, Memphis has struck to a maximum value at the expense of a roster that fits together, but has topped off out shy of competing in the playoffs. I do think it's worth asking just how good Jackson really is. Although Defensive Player of the Year will always remain a top line item on his resume, Jackson hasn't performed at the level since. He's now a good rim protector, Opponents are making 54% of their attempts within 5 feet when Jackson is the primary defender. To some extent, that drop off was probably inevitable because of Jackson increased offensive load. He played just 28 minutes per game in his defensive player year and spotted a 25% usage rate. That ballooned to 30% the following year when John Morant missed all but 9 games and remained at 28% last season. So they said, how good is Jackson as his play time increased? He had more responsibility. His defense kind of lagged a little bit, and he wasn't consistent. So the issue this season, Jackson hasn't really been an elite at either end. His usage rate is back down in the mid-20s. His efficiency as a scorer is down from the last season, and he's only averaging 36% as a three-point shooter. Having Jackson be more good than great at both ends is fine when he's making $35 million. On extension, he averaged more than $51 million, and that was a big issue. So, as his playing time and his money increased, he actually went down instead of taking a leap up. And he's a good player, but not a star player. So this move is clearing the Memphis books. You got rid of the Bain contract. You got rid of Jaren Jackson contract. You got rid of Dillon Brooks. The last piece might be Ja Morant. I don't think he's going to be with the Grizzlies too long. I might be wrong. So it says, what does deal mean for the Jazz? Nearly 4 years since why would they do that summer where the Jazz dealt away Rudy Gobert and Donovan Mitchell. They're finally cashing in on some of their bounty of first round picks in order to add prime age star Lauri Markkanen acquiring the Mitchell trade and building homegrown guard Keontae George. From a cap standpoint, Utah is using its 26-27 space a few months early to take on Jackson's extension signed last summer, which will boost his salary from 35 to 49 million as part of the deal that make him under contract through 2030. So, the Jazz on the hook for that contract in another 4 years. Ooh. All right. The Jazz go from having somewhere in the ballpark of 55 million to spend this summer to likely staying over the cap. Of course, Utah stood no realistic chance of signing a free agent as accomplished as Jackson, a two-time All-Star pick, the 2022-23 Defensive Player of the Year. Jackson is a fascinating fit and what looks like a complete Jazz starting five for the future. In the front court, I love Jackson's fit alongside Utah center Walker Kessler, who was who's out for the season to repair a labor tear, but now it seems like a lock to return as a restricted free agent. It says Jackson and Kessler are two of the NBA's top rim protectors, meaning the paint should be a no-fly zone for Jazz opponents. So he's expected to bring rim protection where they need it this year. And he's going to be paired up with George. And Bailey. That's going to be pretty decent. So, Jaden Ivey to the Bulls in a 3-team deal. Chicago get Jaden Ivey and Mike Conley, the veteran. Pistons get Kevin Huerter, Dario Saric, a 2026 first round protected swap from Minnesota. So, all three teams, it's a win-win. Except Chicago get the B plus, according to ESPN. So, let's see. What did this trade? Mean for the trade? For the second consecutive year, Detroit was in a unique spot at the deadline as a contender team with the ability to add salary via nearly 19 million in room below the luxury tax line. Instead of looking to turn veterans Tobias Harris into a difference-making player at power forward, Pistons aim more modestly to add to their rotation. Horter could end up playing the role off the bench on the wing. With that, Detroit hoped Karis LeVert would fill. LeVert hasn't played in 2 weeks due to illness. So they added shooting on a wing off the bench to replace Karis LeVert. Now, he has been in the slump this season, hitting just 31% of his threes, down from 37. When Horter was a key starter on the Sacramento Kings in 2022-2023 season, he shot 40% and attempted nearly 7 threes a game. So hopefully with the Pistons, I hope we get the better, as a Piston fan, we get the better Kevin Horter. We need the 40% because, we do shoot a lot of threes. And he's coming off the bench. Maybe he can give us that spark. It says, as for Ivey, the number 5 pick in the 2022 draft, he was clearly not the Pistons' plans beyond the final season of his rookie contract. Although a breakthrough 2024-25 campaign was ended early with a fibula fracture on New Year's Day, Ivey has struggled to find a spot off the bench this season. Yeah, you know what? I think after that injury and him coming back, what is his role? What do we add to the Pistons roster as far as kind of the odd man out? He still is trying to find his way back. It says, in theory, Detroit surely hope Ivey would move into more of a playmaking role when Cade Cunningham rested. Instead, he's averaging a career low 3.4 assists per 36 minutes, and the Pistons' offense ranking in the 8th percentile league-wide with Ivey at point guard. So they wanted him to take over the playmaking duties, and right now, I think he's still trying to figure out his role and come back from the injury. He's been kind of lackluster, but I kind of figured that the rumors started even before last year that he might get traded. So, what does this deal mean for the Timberwolves? Within 40 hours left until the trade deadline, that remains to be seen. For now, moving Conley was a necessary sacrifice for what has been a expensive team. At 38, Conley is nearing the finish line of a terrific career highlighted by an all-star appearance at age 33. An important starter as recently as last month, Conley is shooting a career low 32% from the field, averaging a career low 18.5 minutes per game. As valuable as Conley's veteran leadership remains, it's hard for Minnesota to justify paying him $10 million in his final season of his contract for limited contributions. So yeah, they're kind of moving off. I kind of figured it's kind of moving away from the money that they have to pay a 38-year-old Conley. So what does this deal mean for the Bulls? A swing of talent of a talented guard who turns 24 later this month. Despite the concerns about Ivey's fit in Detroit, they are encouraging signs in his individual numbers. Ivey is shooting 37% from three-point range, carrying over his hot start to 24 25 shooting after 34% in his first two NBA campaigns. Combining Ivy's quickness with defenses has to respect the threat of him pulling up beyond the arc, making him more difficult to guard, while spot up shooting makes Ivy valuable off the ball, excuse me. So yeah, they get a guard who can still shoot. He played defense, but with Detroit, he's not a point right now. He can't run a point, but he will be a decent shooter when they spread the floor. Now, Ivy is a restricted free agent. And where do Kobe and Josh Giddey fit in the Chicago Bulls plans? So let's go to the Trailblazers and the Hawks. So the Hawks receive Duop Reef, 2 second-round picks. Blazers get Bit Kurjix, and Atlanta get a B, and Portland get an A minus. Now, what does this deal mean for the Blazers? Portland has been one of the season's best stories, carrying over a strong finish from the 2024-25 into what likely is be his first postseason appearance since 2021, despite crushing set of backcourt injuries. Lately, however, a back strain for Denny Avija forced him to miss 5 games late in January and play less than 100% and play at less than 100% while he was on the court. From the standpoint, the most interesting part of the deal is it leaves Portland in the need of finding 2 roster spots to covet the contracts of two-way standouts, City Kisoko and Caleb Love. Veteran wing Matisse Thybulle, who has been sidelined since October and in the final season of his contract, could move before the deadline. Now, what does this mean for the Hawks? Adding a sharpshooter, Corey Kispert, in the trade, sending Trae Young to Washington last month, helped cut Verchek's playing time in recent games before starting and getting 27 minutes with Atlanta shorthanded on Thursday. So they added a sharpshooter they need after Trae Young was, traded. Now, this is a 3-team trade between Cleveland, Sacramento. Let's move on to that. Cleveland, Sacramento, Chicago Bulls. Whew. Cavs deal for Ellis Schroeder to boost playoff push. Cleveland get veteran Dennis Schroeder and Keon Ellis. Sacramento Kings get DeAndre Hunter. Chicago Bulls get Dario and 2 future second round picks. Excuse me. So the grades for Cleveland is B plus. Sacramento get a C, and Chicago get an A. Now, what does this deal mean for Cleveland? Ellis probably became one of the biggest in-demand players at the trade deadline while playing a smaller role than last season of his minimum salary. With 3-and-D skill that fits better on a contending team than it did in Sacramento. So he's a 3-and-D player, pretty good. In part, it says role shrunk, and he hasn't shot the ball well as last season when he hit an effective 64% of his shots, while accounting for adding 3-point value 3-point attempts. That happens. You with Sacramento, you have Westbrook, you have DeMar DeRozan. You might not see the ball a lot. It says, I particularly like how Ellis will fit alongside Donovan Mitchell, who has played nearly as much point guard this season as he has off the ball, as Darius Garland has experienced toe injuries. Ellis could free Mitchell from having to defend ball handlers in the most of the lineup. So, he's 3 and D. He could defend at the point of attack, which take pressure off of Donovan Mitchell, let him roam around. So it's a good trade for him. And then, you got Garland, who's still, It says, what do the deal mean for the Kings? Let's see what the Kings got. So, in order to add Schroeder as an unrestricted free agent via sign and trade while pushing the luxury tax, Sacramento had to cut salary. So, this is a small market team. They didn't want to go over the luxury tax, especially not paying Schroeder. This means dealing Giannis Valanciunas to Denver Nuggets for Saric, a move that backfired when Valanciunas subsequently signed a desired walkaway from his contract from the Nuggets. So, on the plus side, Sacramento is getting Hunter at a low point in its value. A year ago, the Cleveland Cavaliers gave up 3 second-round picks and a pair of first-round swaps in order to add him for the stretch. At the time, he was shooting a career-high 39% from three-point range, and he improved after joining Cleveland to shoot 46% in the playoffs. This season, Hunter is at a career-low 31% of threes and has seen his playing time decline for 22.4 minutes per game. So he's still getting, maybe a change of scenery will help DeAndre Hunter. So they get some shooting. They move away from the contract of Schroeder. So it's good. It's a good, decent for them. Now, what does this deal mean for the Bulls? Credit the Bulls for being in a position to take advantage of the need for a third team to take Saric's salary in this deal. When Chicago and Sacramento were a part of the 3-team trade in 2024, sending DeMar DeRozan to the Kings and Harrison Barnes to the Spurs, the Bulls' precarious tax position prevented them from getting the best draft pick in the deal, a first-round swap in 2031. San Antonio got for taking Barnes' salary. Sitting more than $13 million below the tax line this season, Chicago could use the remaining portion of the tax exemption to create yet another Bulls Kings Spurs 3-way team deal. The one sending Zach LaVine to Sacramento exactly a year ago in order to take Saric's $5.4 million salary. The only cost for the Chicago is a roster spot. The Bulls will have to waive a player to add Saric with little use guard Javon Carter, a likely candidate in the last season of his contract. If they don't include Saric in a subsequent trade, a buyout seemed likely after the deadline, leaving him with a couple extra second-round picks for their trouble. So they got some picks. They might not keep Saric. So let's go back again. So Sacramento, I still think they got value. I grade it more than a C because you move off of that Dennis Schroeder contract. They're a smaller market team compared to the Bulls and the Cleveland. So I'll give them at least a B. So I will be back for any updates. And we'll see what's going to happen. Giannis Maybe not. James Harden, they had to Thursday to see where James Harden might go. We'll see where James Harden might go and any other big names that we might have. It's not over. It is not over. So, thanks for watching. Please hit that like button. Please hit that subscribe button. And also turn on notification bells to get any updates. I'm SD for 6 Women Sports. I'm out. Peace.